Mic. Camera. Action.
Not to indulge in any alcohol, drugs, sex after 12, or any other illegal activity.
God, my shadow.
Later, papers, man. Found that in your glove compartment, man.
And you know you're the third person who's given me this today? God.
But what do you reckon you're gonna do?
So, I don't know, man. I'll probably end up signing it. I just don't want to give in so easy.
Man, it's the same bullshit they tried to pull in my day. You know, if it ain't that piece of paper, some other choice they're gonna try and make for you. You gotta do what Randall Pink Floyd wants to do, man. And let me tell you this, the older you do get, the more rules are gonna try to get you to follow. You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
All right. Welcome back to the Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the Focus Filmography and consider how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. Today's guest is the Livin legend Tony Farina, a voice that regular listeners will find very familiar. Today's film is Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused from 1993. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. So, sir, thank you so much for being my first guest on season 2 as I launch my look at Matthew McConaughey.
I'm so excited. This is thrilling for me. You know, as I'm sure we'll discuss, my McConaughey, how I feel about Matthew. But Linklater, of course, is my spirit animal. And I saw this opening weekend at a midnight showing in Ann Arbor. I got to sit in the balcony. I was actually with my sister, and she was stoned out of her mind.
Well, you know, she came in method style to see the movie.
Yes, 100%. And it wasn't just her, she and all of her friends. And I was a straight edge kid, you know, and I was an adult at that point in time. But I was like, I still have never done any, you know, I've never smoked pot or anything like that. I have drank, obviously, but so that was an interesting way to go about it. But this was we were in the front row of the balcony on the big screen at the Michigan Theater in Ann Arbor, and it was the right place. And interestingly enough, in that same balcony, however many years later, I saw Boyhood there.
Oh, nice. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, which of course, you know, Linklater. My wife was really glad when that movie came out because she was tired of hearing me talk about it for 12 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you were the only person I could think of to start this season to bring that kind of personal connection, because I just knew, you know, I know how much you love Linklater. I didn't know that you'd watched it and Boyhood in the same balcony. So what a lovely way to start.
Yeah, it was, and it's you know, I think I saw the first before. Well, actually, I didn't get to see the first before movie in the theater because it was I wanted to see it, of course, and then it was one of those ones that just didn't play, and I couldn't get there, and it was like one of those limited showings. So of course, I saw it on VHS as soon as it came out. But yeah, you know, Linklater, you know, seeing Slacker, which of course
I've never seen it actually.
It's what it is. You know, it's a one-shot film. He's in it himself. He plays talky guy in cab. Nobody has, and I actually have the script somewhere. I actually have the script of Slacker. But seeing that and being like, oh, what is this? You know, and so like he's one of those guys, you know how it is, like, and interestingly enough, McConaughey is one of those people, like this is his first film. So like you're there from the beginning. And I didn't mean to be, where I was actively involved in this because it, you know, as a link, you know, now that I knew who he was, and then I started following him, and just as a fan. But this movie was more like as a thing. Like this really cemented, oh, this is what Linklater is. He's this talky guy. And then, of course, when the before movies happened, you know how I feel about those. So it's like there's just something about like, and what they call it mumblecore now, like that's him, right? He sort of invented that idea of indie mumblecore movies.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. It came of trend about 10 years later, didn't it? maybe even a bit longer than that. But yeah, I think these definitely fit in that subgenre, don't they, of talkie movies. He's a peer of Kevin Smith, really, isn't he? I think of those two as they've gone in different directions, and one's a lot more potty mouth than the other. But
they share the same cast a lot. Joey's in
whoa,
this. Ben
yeah,
Affleck is in this. Yeah, the Londons.
exactly.
They each have a London. Yeah.
So yeah, they feel of a kind of an era that they've come up together, definitely.
Yeah, and I think, no offense to the the Smith heads out there, Linklater's the better filmmaker.
Well, yeah, hands down, it's not even close.
I think
Yeah,
Kevin Smith would tell you that as well.
yeah, he would
Yeah.
happily, I'm sure.
Well, because I think Richard takes it a little more seriously than Kevin does.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And not to say that, I mean, I loved Red State, and I know that's divisive. People hate. I think that's one of Kevin Smith's best films. I really appreciated that he pushed himself and tried something different. And I personally think it worked really well. I don't always think the things that Linklater does out of his remake of Bad News Bears was fine, but like, why? It was almost this like, I would just rather watch the Walter Matthau one. It's almost the same. It was, and he didn't write that one. He's kind of coming in to save somebody. So every once in a while, they stub their toe. There's a cop out. There's a
yeah.
there's a Bad News Bears. Sometimes you just do what you do. But yeah, no, I think there's something about his sensibility, and it's like that idea. What I like about Linklater, and you are the film guy, so please, and I know it's writing because you write scripts, but like Linklaters and Smith too are those kind of filmmakers who, because they write and direct their own stuff, the film is literature. The film is the writing. Like, if you were to say to me who's the best, one of the greatest American science fiction writers, I would say Rod Serling, but people normally wouldn't think of him because he made TV. That's writing. And because you've written way more scripts than me, it's a different brain. It's a different thing, right?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, it is definitely because you're thinking visually, you're not thinking orally. If that makes sense.
And
you are because your characters need to say stuff, but you need to be picturing them. I don't know. I'm not expecting. Yeah, I think you need to be thinking about how that will look when it's watched, rather than how it will read for people to imagine.
Right, and I think that's exactly right. And I think this is why the two of them, as you mentioned them together, I think the writer-director, when you write and direct your own stuff, that allows you to write a different kind of script. Because you know what you want it to look like. You don't have to like fill in the gaps for the director, and then you can't get mad. Or if you just do the Rodriguez and edit it yourself, like, this is what Shark Boy and Lava Girl is exactly what Rob Rodriguez wanted, and I love that film. To be fair, I love Shark Boy and Lava Girl. If people find it divisive, I'm like, he gave you exactly what he wanted. He cut it. He even wrote the music, right? Very Carpenter. Like, there's just this line of people that we like, the kind of film that we like. So are you a Link? How do you, I mean, I know you don't hate Richard Linklater, but I mean, where does he, not to say that you have to rank, but like,
no,
Paul Thomas Anderson is here off the screen. Where's Linklater for you?
He's up there, but I think he's not somebody I always actively seek out as movies. It'll be depending on what that movie is. So, you've mentioned Bad News Bears. I've not seen that. Yeah, obviously I don't need to bother. And I've not seen, his whole filmography. And you know me, I'm normally quite a completist. But, the Befores or Dazed or Everybody Wants Some or Boyhood, those ones which fit into this style of his writing, directing. I think I'd call him an artist. And I'd call Kevin Smith a filmmaker. I think that's the difference.
Oh, okay. Talk about that.
Well, I think Boyhood is the best example of it, isn't it? Like, that was about using art to emotionally connect and to be able to do something which people haven't done before, whereas Kevin Smith likes making films with his mates. And that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
He has a great time, and he wants everybody to have a great time when they're watching them. And that's always his goal, I think, when he's making a film, whereas I think Linklater has got something to say, and all his best work have something to say about relationships or people or time or place or coming of age. And I really want to talk about that phrase, coming of age, when we're talking about Dazed and Confused.
100%, Mitch.
Yes.
Or in general.
In general, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's an interesting phrase to use for this movie.
Sure.
I'm not sure it applies. But
okay,
we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. Yeah. No, that's fair. I haven't seen Hitman because we don't have Netflix on right now. But of course, when that comes on, I'm interested because it's a different thing for Linklater.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that really blends the two.
Does it? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I think it has something to say, and it is about people,
Yeah,
but it's at the filmmakery end of his filmography. I think
yeah. It's
great
funny
fun.
that. Yeah, is
Glenn
it great
Powell's
fun? Yeah,
brilliant in it.
yeah. Oh, good.
Iona's brilliant in it. They got
Oh,
really good
good.
chemistry. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm here for it. I mean, of course, when it comes on, I'll totally watch it. And
Mm.
that's part of the problem too. Is it's just like there's just more stuff that's happening. It's harder to keep up. It looks like he's doing a TV show, and it's just like you miss some things. I will admit, there's been a few of his things I've missed, not intentionally, but just because in the age of streaming and everything is everywhere, it's just harder to find. Like he definitely came up, like you said, he was an artist who made big art projects, and he put out statement films, like he did Fast Food Nation, right? Which is really, I mean, that's based on a nonfiction book, so that's a really interesting thing that he did. Was, like you said, it's about people, but it's also has something really important to say. And then he worked in this backstory, and of course, he works with his buddy too. Ethan Hawke shows up, and and like does his Ethan Hawkeyest and everything. It's like they're each other's spirit animals, and he's got Patricia Arquette shows up in that. He's got his own crew, but they also made those movies while they were making Boyhood. So it's like, oh, you want to go up to Colorado and shoot this whole other movie in between our one day of shooting for this movie? He really lucked out that the 4 leads, nothing happened to them.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a totally different movie. Yeah. I can't imagine.
I mean, I guess he would have written around it, and it would have just fit into what he had to do with the arc of the movie. But yeah,
that's true. That's such a good point.
But he's always being experimental. He's pushing boundaries, isn't it? He's done the rotoscoping. He was pushing that boundary, wasn't he?
With Scanner Darkly.
Yeah, and then he returned to it, didn't he, a year or two ago with the is it Apollo 10 or something?
Apollo 10.5. I've actually not.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I haven't seen. Is that good?
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Okay.
Yeah, so, he's always trying things out, isn't he? He's doing different stuff, and he's been experimental, and
and he's willing to do that. He's willing to do that, and then he's like, "Oh, let's just drop in, and everybody wants some, just so everybody knows." Last Flag Flying, that's a tough one, but I really did. That's just a tough subject for a Richard Linklater. That's not what you're expecting, but it's also like the natural progression of where he was in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And then Where'd You Go, Bernadette is a book that I love. So when we saw that, and it's, when we actually went into the theater and saw that one. Lee and I did, because we both loved the book, and it's a Linklater film, and you're like, I can't believe he's doing this. And I think that worked out really well. And I think as far as an adaptation goes, because he's done some of those. Yeah, it's really, I think he's at the point, like you said, he's an artist. He's at the point too where he can say, like, I'm willing to try this, and he can get the funding.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's proven himself.
Yeah.
To be legitimate, and whether the way the box office changes or not. But the fact that, like, now in 2024, Where'd You Go, Bernadette isn't making it into theaters.
No,
it'll get made with the exact same cast, but it's going to be on Apple Plus.
Yeah, straight into streaming.
Yeah.
That's a nice segue though into the making of Dazed and Confused, of course, which really was a case of, it appears, studio versus artist.
Really?
He had this script. But really, he had this loose script. He knew that when he was making it, it was going to be an opportunity for young people to express themselves. So he was allowing them to improvise. It sounded like it was the best summer of everyone's lives. They were all living in a hotel together, just living it up. LIVIN it up. How many times can I get that in?
Yeah, as many times as you want. Feel free.
And I watched the documentary last night, which I sent you.
You sent me. I haven't watched yet. I've had a day. Enough. I'm desperate to watch it though.
But it really was, nearly came to blows at times where the producers were like, "What are you doing? This is your big break. Here, you've gone from, like a $20 movie to $6 million budget here. Why are you letting kids tell you what they should be doing?" But he knew what he was doing, because look, this is a cult classic, and everyone's still talking about it all this time later. Because it really represents, even to somebody who wasn't alive in the 70s, isn't American. This is me I'm talking about. It represents a feeling of being that age, and feeling free, and the world feeling like it's exciting, and you don't know what's going to happen. And it so perfectly represents that.
Oh, absolutely. And I'd be remiss to say, this is his love letter to Lucas, right? This is American Graffiti. This is, to the point that Woody Wooderson, he has a first name, turns out, David. Did you know that? It's in the. It's on the IMDb. Wooderson is the Harrison Ford character, right?
Mhm,
So like
mhm.
when you think about how Happy Days, and you know my feeling about Happy Days, but the character that Harrison Ford plays in American Graffiti is that this is the natural progression of that. It's just tonight. It's almost the exact same thing. It's all these kids at a turn now, and now to them it's not the right after they graduate high school. It's the day before they're supposed to go off to college. That's where You've seen American Graffiti?
I have, yeah.
Okay, this is it, right? This is just a new American Graffiti, and I feel like I don't like Everybody Wants Some as much. I mean, it's fine. It's not. It's just I feel like it's a little slower. It's a little quieter. I get why. I get what he's doing with it, but this movie is just so that it's like trying to capture a time that's not in a time. Like when George Lucas made American Graffiti, it wasn't. It was 1962, right? Is when it takes place, but that isn't when it was. And so, but there's just so many things, and there's even to the point where in this movie, when McConaughey first shows up, he rolls up and he's stuck with the young kids, which is exactly what happens, Mackenzie Phillips and Harrison Ford in that. So it's like, so it's even just like acknowledging that. And then
he's
it's
openly openly happy to say like that was exactly my intention. Like I loved American Graffiti and it represented that time. But what he said with this is that he didn't want it to be nostalgic. He wanted it to be, because there's the line, I think it's, I can't remember when the senior girl, they're about to become seniors, aren't they? They're not actually seniors yet.
Yeah.
I always found that bit a bit confusing because they're all wearing their seniors t-shirts. But I'm going to call them.
They're seniors now because the year is over and now they're representing the next year. It's
Yeah,
the last
that's right.
day of school, but that's why it's eighth graders that they're abusing.
Yeah, so they're about to go to high school, aren't they?
School and be freshmen.
Junior high to high, and then
correct. Juniors to seniors. Yeah. Junior is what as 11th grade to 12th grade.
Because I was going to ask you, that is one of the questions, because when you get Anthony Rapp, his character Tony, and I can't think what the girl's name is. One of the junior girls who they take out for the day. There's so many characters to keep track of, isn't there? It's really hard to remember everyone's name.
Anthony Rapp is Tony, and she is
something like.
Is it Sabrina?
Sabrina, that's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you what the age difference there is. 17 and 14.
Well, so it depends. It could be, it really all depends. Yes, it could be 17, 14. It could be 17 and 15. It just depends on when. So in America, the cutoff is like if you're born December 2nd, you are put into the next year. But you can be, so anywhere before then, you could be in either year. So like Lee is born in November, and she started kindergarten at 5. Or at 4, because she turned 5 in kindergarten. But then there are some kids who were 6 in her same kindergarten, because you can start them up to that late. Like my friend Heath, he's only 1 year younger than me, but 2 years in school behind me, because we both have June birthdays. So in theory, they can only be 2 years apart in age, but 4 years in school. But I don't know that it's explicitly said that Tony is going to be a senior. Is he one of the senior group?
Not. I great point. I've never even thought of that. I just always assumed all the characters we were following were of the same year.
Well, but
they don't need to, do they?
But Mitch's sister has the friend who's a sophomore.
That's right. You're right.
She hooks up with Mitch.
She hooks up with Mitch. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So there is a mixture of years, isn't there?
I've kind of, and again, it's just because Anthony Rapp is so, and even still in Star Trek, other than like some of his hair looks maybe a little bit old, maybe a little gray. He looks the same. He's aged so well. Like in Rent, when he's Mark, you're like, "Aw, you look the same as you did in Adventures in Babysitting." So it's hard to know. Like, I don't know. I don't know how old anybody really is. So yes, it could be 2 years. It could be 4.
Okay, that's interesting.
But it was also 1976.
Well, yeah, quite. And we've got to talk about that when we come to McConaughey and Wooderson as well. One of his really iconic lines.
My man, what has happened? Long time, no see.
Yes, sir. What have you been up to?
Same old shit, man.
Yeah?
Working for the city.
Working man, huh?
Been thinking about getting back in school, though, man.
Back in JC or something like that?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's where all the girls are, right?
Stay up.
But on the other hand, man, I just as soon keep working, keep a little change in my pocket.
Yeah? Wait.
Rather than spend my time listening to some dipshit who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about anyway.
I know what you're talking about.
Say, you're a freshman, right?
Yeah.
Well, so tell me, man, how's this year's crop of freshman chicks looking?
What, you're gonna end up in jail sometime really soon, I know that. Fact.
No, man. No, man, I tell you. That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
But that almost feels that the line is awful, and it's amazing that he's become such a like revered character, and McConaughey's gone on to become what he's become. Kind of off the back of this, and we're definitely going to talk about this being his first role and how he just arrived. I know we've already done it in messages, and that his first lines ever were all right, and that's all of that is all of that is amazing. But I almost sort of feel like his 22-year-old guy to the 18, 17-year-old high school girls, almost in a weird way to me, and maybe I'm wrong, feels a little bit better than the 17 to the 14.
No, you're right. You're not wrong.
Because at least the 17, 18-year-old girls are themselves a bit more mature, and they are kind of hitting adulthood and are able to make those choices. Whereas the 14-year-old girl, potentially 15-year-old girl, that just feels a bit more skeezy to me.
100%. You're 100% correct all the way across. Because you know the difference, because you teach these kids the difference between 14 and 18.
Yeah,
it might as well be that.
Could be a decade. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that those 4 years of teenagehood are so huge. You know, and that's what I tried to capture in the Dashwood Girl. It's like she starts at 13 and it ends at 17, and she's a totally different kid. And that's, you know, like that's what, because I do think those 5 years are so huge. I do think like 13, 14, 15 are totally different than 16, 17, 18. You're a totally different person. And again, even 16 to 19 is a leap. But yeah, so I agree. And again, you just don't know how old some of the seniors are. Like how old is Parker? How old is Joey? And again, both of them have aged spectacularly well. So you're like, wow, look at you here in this 1993 movie. And then I, wow. But
I mean, in the making of the movie, they are older than McConaughey, like as actors chronologically. Both Parker and Joey look younger, but they're actually older than him.
Right. So
he looks older because he's got the stash and the
exactly.
Yeah.
So right. So that's just it. So it's like, right, if he's supposed to be 22 and she's 18, because again, some people go into high school at 18. Like one of Emma's best friends said, turned 18 like 2 weeks into their final year of high school.
Right. Yeah.
And so you're a legal adult the whole time. She could have just signed herself out of high school anytime she wanted. So like, because you're an adult, we can't actually make you be here. At that point, it's just a choice. So, right. And I don't know because they're very clear. They're very clearly not, Richard's clearly not telling us. So it gives you that chance to squint at it and say, and I do think Lee and I, being that we both graduated high school, being we were born in the 70s and that we graduated high school both at 17, I think we were more aberrations than the norm.
Okay.
I do think a lot of people were 18 either go now, granted, this is the end of their junior year, beginning of their senior, so they're 17 going on 18. It's still a little gross because they're still children legally. They're children. It's not quite Fonzie level because Fonzie's way older than 22. Right. And that's the thing about Wooderson is that there's even the line about I'd kill myself. I don't know who says it. If Pink says it, I'd kill myself if my best days of life were in high school. And he's saying it to Wooderson. Who's like, well, damn.
Clicking on.
Thought we were going to get Aerosmith tickets. So, could you imagine Aerosmith in 1976? There's a lot of drugs at that show. But anyway, So no, I think you're right. I think you're accurate. And it's hard to discern the two things. But I guess I've always read Tony isn't a senior. But just because again, Anthony Rapp's face is so baby.
It's also very respectful interaction between him and Sabrina as well. It's
correct
at most a bit of a snog.
Right. There's no gropey. It's none of that.
No.
There's nobody's taken. Like Mitch and the sophomore, they have way more action going on than the two of them.
Yeah, definitely.
So absolutely. I definitely love how my wife feels. How Lee feels about Ben Affleck. Not a fan. And so I mentioned to her, as I was watching it again, and Affleck's in this, and he plays a huge dick. She's like, yeah.
I mean,
that checks out.
That is all he was playing at that point, though. I mean, you think about Mallrats, very much this kind of same character again, isn't it? You got the little cameo in the Buffy movie as the douchebag. Of course,
and there's the other guys in Buffy too.
Oh, Sasha, he plays, So he is just getting cast as douchebags at this point, and watching the behind the scenes stuff from him is really hilarious. He's like, I was that one guy. Everybody else in this cast is really, really charming, and I'm the dickhead. I'm the guy who nobody likes. And I think there was again issues with like behind the scenes because Linklater was saying to him like, swear more, like say this, like improvise the line, bitch isn't strong enough, say cocksucker, say motherfucker, and all this stuff. And the dailies were going back and they were like, Ben, I told you to stop swearing. And he's like, I'm doing what Richard
the
wants.
director says, that's amazing.
But of course, everyone's having a great time and they're partying up, and he's the douchebag. So of course, he is the douchebag, like on screen, but I guess amongst them all because he's playing that guy of that age. It's almost kind of method at that point.
Well, he's really good at that role, but it's also like you need that's accurate. You need that guy, and they're like the fact that the 14-year-olds are all like he got held behind on purpose just to torture us, so like he could be a senior a second time, and so that's an interesting commentary too. Like we don't know about Wooderson. Did he do the same thing? It's a very Van Wilder. Like Van Wilder obviously is riffing on this too. You know, like the eternal. And Van Wilder's riffing on Animal House. Is that whole idea of like you never graduating, so you can just stay young forever if you don't do that. You know, but. I mean, the fact that so at that point, Ben Affleck, who is clearly an adult man in this film, he is full grown. You know, he's a big dude in real life. You know, like Ben Affleck's not a shrinking violet in any way, any stretch of the imagination, but like he's so imposing in this film.
Oh yeah,
and to play that guy who like wants to beat on 14-year-olds, like he's getting off on it, and it's like so weird. And again, dare I say, it's a little bit skeevy because it comes off a bit homoerotic how excited he is to smack these kids' ass.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like he's getting literal pleasure out of it.
He is.
Like the rest of them, they're just kind of like doing it, and they're just like it's a funny hazing thing, and then they like pick him up and they're like, haha, off we go. Where he's really like enjoying it way more than he ought to.
That's true. But I will say I am also really enjoying the slow-mo scene when they get Wiley, and it's the four of them when they get Mitch. Sorry,
Mitch.
When it's the four of them and they're paddling, and it's like in slow-mo.
Yeah,
it's a montage. You've got all their happy. I mean, that is pure cinema. That moment, it's brilliant. Linklater knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh yeah, and you're supposed to. Yeah,
you're supposed to love it, and you absolutely do. It's absolutely hilarious. But he's very clever then at cutting immediately, and then finding the sympathy for Mitch, and then showing Floyd as being a nice guy and like going to use it as I guess if anybody does come of age, you're right, it's him. But
and Pink does too. I mean, you can look at it from Pink's perspective too, because he's having to make a choice because Texas. Look, you watch Friday Night Lights. You said,
oh yeah, I love it.
I've never watched the show. I didn't watch the movie, but I read the book when it came out. I was in high school, and I know you're shocked. You're like, that's what you did. The book came out when I was in high school, and I read it as a high school American footballer. And wow, it was like crazy because, like, you know, it is a religion there. It's a religion. So, like, football in Texas, high school football, it's real. It's like, and now that in America there's like the whole name, image, and likeness. You're not. Those kids are making money hand over fist now.
Yeah,
so like Pink in today, if there was a Pink today, it would be a mess. Like, and so. But I do think he did a really good job of, and again, I feel like, you know, Linklater's from Texas, so he knows all about it. So he's tapping into that. Like, I can't imagine Linklater was Pink. Like, I feel like Mitch is the spirit animal of Linklater in this film.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I think he's in the car with the three geeks, isn't he?
Right, but I'm saying like he's the avatar.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I've always seen him as like being the fourth wheel.
The fourth. Oh, okay.
Along with Adam Goldberg and Anthony Rapp.
He's the Adam Goldberg.
Yeah.
Oh,
like if there's
Goldberg
another
is great in this.
If there's another space in that car, it's for Linklater. Absolutely,
it's for Linklater. Oh, I get it. I love that scene too. That the woman drives, and that there's never even a conversation that she's the alpha in that relationship.
Yeah,
and she is the boss. I love everything about the three of them. But you're right. You're right. Linklater is definitely the empty seat. The empty seat there. That's a good call. But anyway, I do think so. He's making that commentary like on this thing. And it's like, he's like, you don't even know these people. Like he says to the coach. But again, there's that whole idea of what you look like and who you are. And the difference between the actors is minor, but it's like these guys, it's fine. And he's like having to sign that pledge or whatever and it is stuff. They like try to control your life. And again, this is Texas in 1976. So the drinking age was 18, not 21. So everybody, all those high school kids drinking, that's legal. Right. So that's a whole other layer of like that's why that pledge even was more obtrusive, because you're telling people who could, after the high school football game, go have a beer with their buddies legally, so I did like that. And I do think I think the London twins are good at what they do. I think they had interesting careers. They both still act in a bunch of like straight to DVD or straight to streaming now movies that I haven't seen, but I feel like watching this reinvigorated. It's like I want to go see really terrible movies with the London twins, and that because I like them both. I think they're both good. They're not great. It's just funny that he's the star. This is it's like The Outsiders, right? C. Tommy Howell is the star of The Outsiders. He was already he and Ralph Macchio were peaking as the two young, and then all those careers that came out of that. It's the same here. Jason London and his brother were kind of peaking as these young guys. And then look at, Mila.
Yeah.
I love that they let her sing, and I love that Richard lets her sing, because I know you'll be shocked to learn I actually own her album, Gentlemen.
I am not shocked. No.
I love her so much. She's so great. But she's great in this, right? And it was just like, she doesn't have much to do. I don't know how good her English was at this point in time.
Well, yeah, so I read about it. Her and Sean Andrews, who plays Pickford, so the couple, they were not getting on with people on set. They were not kind of vibing with what Linklater was trying to do. And so basically they kept getting, Andrews particularly got written out of scenes. And then I think she found her role diminished because of that. And also a lot hit the cutting room floor, I think, as well. I mean, I read a report that London and Andrews at one point were like squaring up and we're nearly fighting with each other. And they're supposed to be like best buds in the movie.
Right,
but they
yeah.
barely spend any time together.
Really? Well, that's good acting.
Who do you think got Andrews? So he lost some of his lines and some of his parts. Who do you think managed to gain some more screen time because of this situation?
Mitch? Oh, who?
Why are we here, sir?
Oh, really? Because Matthew did. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Because he was the opposite, basically. He was on set. He was understanding what Linklater wanted. He totally got the character. He was a nice guy to be around. He took it seriously. They kept finding more for him to do. So essentially, you had the one scene to begin with, which is the really cool entrance and the drive to the Emporium, and it'd be a lot cooler if you did when he asked Mitch for the joint.
Yeah.
That was it. That was all he was going to be, and then maybe hanging around in the background because he kept turning up. He kept doing a good job. They kept giving him more. So he wasn't even supposed to be on the football pitch at the end.
Oh, really?
That should have been Pickford.
Oh, really? But Rory Slater was supposed to still be there.
Everybody else was supposed to be there. Just no Woodison. It should have been Pickford and I guess Mila maybe. And then they changed it. They rewrote it so Woodison could be there with them.
It works out. It worked out really well.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. Yeah, no, that's cool. Oh, so Mitch was always supposed to be the B story. Like his story was this story. So it's like, oh, okay, okay, cool. Because that would have actually made sense to be like, oh, these kids are just here, but we'll give them something to do now. Because I feel like theirs is really interesting.
Because they felt like he was the big find. I think they thought Mitch was going to be the one who was going to become the big breakout star, and it turns out it was McConaughey.
Well, that's true. I mean, he's good. I mean, Wiley's fine.
He's fine. Other than I really hate the scene outside the Emporium when he's talking to Sabrina and he touches his face about 1,000 times. He's doing something with his forehead and his nose.
Yeah.
And I get it. The first time it's that he's embarrassed because his sister's there.
Yeah.
Then he gets locked into it and it really takes me out the movie. I really dislike in the rest of it. He's perfectly fine. I'm with him. It's just that scene is it really jolts me out because I feel his acting in that scene. Whereas by contrast, she's really natural.
Oh yeah, I think
Sabrina.
I think she's really good. I think she's, and again, Anthony Rapp. Obviously, he had quite a few already. He was in Adventure Babysitting, but he did a lot of theater too. So he's just like real coming in while London was the bigger name. He was the best actor, and he still is. I mean, like actor. He's the guy who's got the most. Whereas McConaughey is relying on his charm. And it works. But the one thing about McConaughey that works is that he's that guy who's like, teach me something.
Yes, that is 100%. I mean? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's something.
You've given me the opportunity. I'm grateful for it. What can I learn? He was at film school at this point. I don't know if you know the story about how he got the role.
No.
So he was at a bar with his girlfriend, and then there was a casting director, funnily enough, turns out for Dazed and Confused there. And he was
Mhm.
like, somebody said to him, like, oh, that's the casting director. He's casting for a movie at the moment. So McConaughey went over, had some drinks, played it totally cool, as you imagine McConaughey would do. Emma was sitting down here the other night saying to me, you're already massively crushing on him, aren't you? And I was
Yeah.
like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he just played it really cool. Didn't mention anything about being an actor or about wanting a role, and then by the end of the night, they'd had such a good time. He was like, "Oh, by the way, like you've got a really nice vibe. Like, do you act?" And he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I do actually. Yeah, I was in a bug commercial and I'm at film school." And then he said, "Well, I've got a small role for you. I've got this role of Wooderson. If you're willing to come down and meet the director, I think you'd be perfect." And that was that. So we talk about like on screen how he, and we'll go into it in more depth, like how he just seems to arrive fully formed as this character actor at this point. But
Yeah.
actually, I think in life he kind of already knew what he was doing. He didn't steam in. He didn't kind of demand a role. He didn't try and schmooze him. He just went in as a nice guy, kind of hoping that something might come out of it by the end. I think that's quite clever that he did that.
Yeah, and I think that, and actually, I appreciate that. I appreciate that approach to the work because I feel like as people like you and I who we are people who just want our work to be good. We want people
Yeah.
to recognize the work for that we do. Like I don't need a statue. I don't need an award. I just need that my work, whatever it is, my novels, my work at work, our show, it I don't need an accolade. I just need it to be good. And I
Mhm.
need if people are like, that was good, thanks for making that. Like Tanya sent a text the other day that said, oh, I was listening to you and Heath talk about the hip hop show. And she's like, the rap show. And I got to this part and had to stop. And I was like, had to stop because it was awful. And she's like, no, I meant had to stop because I had to go do something else. But I regretted having to stop because so I was like, that's cool. You know what I mean? So like she didn't have
Yeah.
to send me that. I didn't know she was even listening. So it's like, so like those are the kinds of things that like you want to hear, like, oh, that was a good conversation. That's what, you know, you and I, people like you know, people listen to us are like, you guys vibe, you know,
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
do. And like you said with me and Kyle, you've heard me and Kyle talk, and there's just that, like, that's all. You just want the work that you do to be good, whatever the work is. So I appreciate that that's McConaughey's approach, is like, I just want to make good work. And I think Linklater pushing back against the studio and like, no, I'm just going to make good work.
Mhm.
And then if it's good, it will be good. And I understand that, especially now. I mean, 93 was different than now because it's almost like there's so much choice that you can't find everything. Like I said, I haven't even seen all of
Mm.
Linklater's movies
Mhm.
because I can't keep up with all of it because I don't subscribe to the Richard Linklater newsletter, and maybe I need to do that. But the fact remains, like, McConaughey lets his work do the work, and I do think you
Mm.
see that. And you know, it's funny. We read the Action Star book, and the one thing
Yeah.
that I loved about that was the way that Schwarzenegger never knew anything. Like he didn't come into any room saying, I'm the smartest guy in the room. He's like, teach me something. What do you need me to do? Do you need me to do it again? Do you need another take? No, you walked up the hill carrying a log, carrying a tree. I think we'll get it in one. We're good. But he would have done it again. He would have done it
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
times because he knew what he didn't know. And that's why he made, you know, Twins. That's why he made Junior. He made these movies because he wanted to try something different.
Mm.
And I think that's what I love about that, is the reason I think of all the big action stars, the reason Arnie is his charm.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
that natural charisma that McConaughey has because he's not trying so hard. He's
Mm.
like willing to be foolish. He's willing to roll up in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
He's really and that's the one thing. I mean, that to me is one of Tom Cruise's best performances,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because
It
he's
definitely is.
willing, he's trusts Ben Stiller, right? I think, and that matters. And I think McConaughey being on set probably
Mhm.
helped, you know, being like, let's look, it's okay to look like a fool sometimes, Tom.
Yeah.
It's okay, you know, it's okay. And I think that's really cool. So I love that story. That makes me really excited to hear. And I think they're both just dudes from Texas.
Yeah, well, there's that. Yeah, they certainly look like they vibe and all the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
They're getting
yeah.
on. I can see that absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and Linklater is just still a dude from Texas, and I just love that about him. You know, he's not like, and again, Robert Rodriguez, dude from Texas. Like,
Mhm.
there's just a certain, and there's a part of Texas that we think of that is the different Texas, like the America, that the way that Texas presents itself is different than this.
Mhm.
This is the part of Texas that makes you want to go.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like when Dan and Beth came to Houston a few years ago. I don't know if you remember this. Dan and Beth came to Houston for a wedding, and I was like, oh my God, you guys are leaving England for Texas. What are you doing? Don't go. Stay away. You know, like, because it's crazy. But there's this exists still.
Yeah.
There's still this chill almost California vibe about it.
Yeah.
I think it works really well. I mean, and you love McConaughey, like, you see
Cool.
him, like, he loves American football, right? He shows up at University of Texas football games, and he's like on the sideline wanting to coach, and he's just so, yeah. So no, I am really pleased that you picked him. So if you could, let me ask you this question. So obviously we're here for McConaughey, and I know how you. So if who do you think? I'm sure you're gonna. I think I know who you're gonna say. Who do you think has had, of this supporting cast, has had the best career, and who do you think deserved a better career? Matthew notwithstanding, obviously, he's had the career.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it, to think where he's gone from here?
Yeah.
The best career has got to be Ben Affleck, hasn't it? Other than,
I think so. Yeah.
The McConaughey.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, Leah, I'm going to disagree with you here. I really like Ben Affleck.
I know you do. Yeah.
In all forms of Ben Affleck, I do think he's a good actor. I think he's a fantastic director. So I think
he's a fantastic director. I mean, I do. She has seen several of the films he's directed, and I think he is definitely very good at that. But she just can't stand. I don't remember what it was the other day. We saw, Jennifer does all those commercials, and every time she sees her, she's like, she's just a saint.
Oh,
because she puts up with, like, his kids still have a relationship with him because, and the reason she's in all those fucking Capital One commercials is because she started doing them right after they split up.
Right. Okay.
Because that was easy work. She could be home at the end of the day. So every time she sees her, and we're both big fans of her, obviously, as are you. But yeah, so I think that's part of it too. So go ahead. So who do you think didn't get the career, or did you think should have been bigger than they were from here?
Obviously, Miller and Cole Hauser had really good careers, haven't they, as well?
Yeah.
Who should have had a bigger career? I mean, quite a few, isn't it? Like Parker had a great career too. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I think Joey Lauren Adams always had a charisma about her that was never really captured properly. I don't think. I think that's a shame.
Do you think Kevin? I agree. Do you think Kevin
Rory
Smith,
Cochran maybe?
Rory Cochran is great, right?
And he sort of plays the same guy going in Empire Records, and he sort of still turns up in things now and then. But I think probably he's somebody who could have been a really fantastic character actor.
I think so too, and I think both of them. I think Joey could have gone the Judy Greer route and had the Judy Greer, but she didn't.
Maybe she's too blonde and pretty. I know that sounds stupid, but she got pigeonholed as that. You're blonde and you're pretty, and you've got a high voice, so we're going to keep casting you as that.
The Jennifer Tilly problem, except not blonde, but brunette. But do you think the Kevin Smith stuff hurt her?
Yeah, probably.
I think it did. I actually think I think people didn't see this and didn't see the stuff she did pre-Kevin Smith, and then she's in Mallrats, and then she's with Kevin Smith, Chasing Amy. I mean, Chasing Amy is amazing, right? It's an amazing film, hands down. It is, and the fact, talk about studio interference. They had a whole different thing in mind, and they made that whole movie for $250,000, and they all did it for free. He's like, "No, I'm making this movie," and she got an Oscar nomination for that. She's spectacular, and but I personally think the Kevin Smith thing, like the reason Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn, is never going to be anything be an air quote actor, anything more than she is because she's in all the stuff that her dad does. So they're like, oh, well, it's this. And so it's like, oh, you're only this because you're dating Kevin Smith. I personally think, and again, maybe it was a personal choice. But you also said she's definitely typecast. And then, because like Goldberg, Rapp, Parker, all these people, they go this other kind of like different, they take a different route. Parker Posey's in all of the she's in the Spinal in the movie the Eugene Levy, then Christopher Wright, she's in all of those, and she's
the Christopher Guest stuff.
Christopher Guest stuff, and she's just
I can't think what their group's called, but I know what you mean. They have got a name for their group,
them, the ones who are in all those stuff, and like in The Mighty Wind, she puts on
Best in Show and
Best in Show.
Yeah,
she puts the braces on and Waiting for Guffman. She's just exceptional, right? She's just so good, but she is what she is, right? Parker Posey is what she is, and when she tried to break out, she was in Superman Returns.
Yes,
and she's
Blade Trinity.
Yeah, she's great in both of those movies.
A cock juggling Thunder Cunt in Blade Trinity, according to Ryan Reynolds.
Her role, I know, I love her in both of those movies, but again, they're like. she tried so hard to be a star, you know?
Yeah.
And I just think I am, you know, Party Girl is one of my, I love Party Girl. Like she's great in that too. So yeah, I do think people had the careers they had. Obviously, Anthony Rapp goes on to be in Rent and does all the music, and now he's in Star Trek.
Yeah. Now he's
So he's had a career, but I do think Cochran should have been. He could have easily gone the the Max Perlish route.
yeah.
And probably would have been on 1,000 TV shows if he'd have chosen. And again, I don't know why people choose things, but it is like, as we said in our, what a bunch of actors.
Yeah, he would have been great. And we were watching Justified. He would have been great as a recurring guest star in Justified, perhaps. Something like that. I could see.
Yeah, like in the Ron Eldard vein.
Yeah,
right. Where
yeah.
he comes up for like in one season and he's in it for like 6 episodes, and he plays like
nobody can be Dickie Bennett better than Jeremy Davis, but he could have had a Dickie Bennett-esque character.
Correct.
He could have pulled that off.
Yeah, and he's definitely worked. It's not like when you look, it's not like he's not worked, but it's just like, yeah, when you see, and he was in Argo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like he's not worked, but yeah, it's just it's an interesting group of actors, and it's just always funny to see. And like I said, you go back to Outsiders, Tom, and again, I still think I'm on record as saying that is Tom Cruise's villain origin story. He wasn't as good looking as Rob Lowe, because who is?
Yeah.
He wasn't as funny as Emilio Estevez. He wasn't as dangerous as Matt Dillon, right? He couldn't do all the stunts like Patrick Swayze. And so what did he have to do? All of them. He had to go out of his way to try to up them all. And he's admitted that seeing Patrick Swayze be Patrick Swayze made him the person that he is. Like he wanted to do his own stunts, and because he didn't know you were allowed to do that. And Patrick Swayze, because Patrick Swayze was just such a gifted athlete and a dancer, he got away with it, right? They're like, well, we can only shoot it this way. Like that's him doing those stunts. That's not Keanu Reeves doing those stunts at Point Break, right? So like Tom Cruise saw it. But I do think the difference between Tom Cruise and Matthew McConaughey is that Matthew McConaughey just let it happen. He wasn't so desperate. He wasn't like jealous of his fellow actors. Or Tom Cruise, that's my personal feeling, just couldn't get over the fact that he wasn't as good in that moment as the rest of him. So it has launched upon us The Mummy.
Of all the films, of all the successes, The Mummy is the one. Yeah.
I hate that movie. That was what the fuck?
Yeah, it's not good.
What's up with that? Anyway, all right. So we're here to talk about Matthew McConaughey.
We are, yes.
Why did you? Let me ask you this on the first issue, because this is the most important question. Why him?
Yeah, I think I said him before. I don't know, because of my brain was going round and round and round. I had all these lists, and for the longest time it was going to be Charlize Theron, but then I didn't want to have to recover the films that she'd done with the State, and then it was just suddenly it was him, and I couldn't see past anyone else. And I think we're already hitting upon the reason why. All the way through the State, it was about him having this charm. It's singular. It's his. It's somebody you like to spend time with, no matter what role he's in. And I feel the same about McConaughey, that even when I know we're going to get some of the bad movies, and we are going to get to some bad movies, he will still be charming in it.
Yeah.
And he just seems, again, somebody who is grateful for his position in life. Like he is a mega success. He's super famous. He's rich. He's got a beautiful wife and a lovely kids and a wonderful home. And he just seems to be like, yeah, this is great. What have I got to complain about? And I think, you don't always get that. You get people who acquire this fame and it affects them. Of course, he's affected by it, but he also seems to be grateful for it. As you said, he still turns up to American football matches, and he does talks, and he does all these things which he thinks are ways to give back and to show the gratefulness that he has for the position he's found himself in.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously this is the career launcher, but it's a Time to Kill that was the moment, right?
Yeah.
That's when people were like, oh, he's like fourth billing in that movie, right? I mean, listen to that cast, but it's like, oh, fuck. And that's no joke who's in that movie with.
No. What's fascinating with him as well is with the State, it was this gradual build, wasn't it? But quite quickly, went from small part to suddenly being kind of discovered. Here it's like a real launchpad moment that, as we've said already, like people still talk about, like his famous phrase, and it's lauded as being one of his best performances ever. And then he's in a bunch of shit for quite a while.
But wasn't Texas Chainsaw, was that recorded? that got released later, right? Isn't that one of those situations where
He went straight from Dazed to Texas Chainsaw. Yeah.
right,
So
okay,
it's his
that's what I thought,
fourth
but it
movie,
took a
but it's
while to
his
come out,
second
right,
performance. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because Angels in the Outfield, I kind of love Angels in the Outfield.
No, yeah. I mean, I won't claim to have seen all the films that are coming
Yeah,
up.
it's
That
not.
is
I mean,
one I haven't seen yet.
it's what it is. I think it's. Listen, it's a remake of another Disney movie. You know how Disney loves to remake their own shit, and I think
Yeah.
the
But you
cast,
know, he's
it's
playing.
where
It's
Zoe
like
Deschanel meets Jonathan.
Danny Strong.
No. Why can't I think of his name right now? Who's the star of that film from Third
Oh,
Rock? The Sun.
Joseph
Joseph,
Gordon-Levitt.
not Jonathan. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That's where he and Zoe meet on the set of that
Oh,
movie.
okay.
Yeah. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, not Jonathan. Yeah. So anyway, that movie knows what it is, and he's fine in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like it's definitely the movie he should have made next. So it's funny that he went from Dazed to the Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah,
Like,
and he's playing characters, like called like Boy 2 and like
Yeah.
Guy, and like the order just feels all wrong. Like Wooderson should be, 7th or 8th on the list because it's a defining
So
moment.
good. Yeah.
But
It is interesting. Yeah, it'll be fun to listen along because right, you'll be like, how is he El Rojo in Scorpion Spring, which
Right.
I'm looking at right now, I've never heard of. So obviously I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah,
That looks
so
like
how
it
is he
sucks.
that
Yeah.
in film number 7 and Wooderson in film number 1? Like what
Right.
happened here?
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's funny though, it's almost interesting too, because that is actually the kind of thing that would happen to like a woman who has
Sure.
a
Yeah,
star-breaking role, and they're like, well, we better keep her down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to cast her or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like that is, I hate to say that, but we see that happen to all kinds of really talented women. They have like a breakout role, and then they make
Yeah,
Catwoman,
yeah.
for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right? It's like how did her agents let her do
I'll be
that?
Catwoman and Jinx in Die Another Day. Oh, are you sure?
Right. this is But yeah, no, it is interesting. But then but even after Time to Kill, there's still some duds.
There is. Yeah.
Yeah. But then he does Contact shortly thereafter. I mean, that was a huge so it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see. So no, I think you're right. Once you landed on him, and I think Charlize Theron would have been an excellent choice. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Of course, obviously, I was pushing for Michelle Yeoh the whole time.
Yeah. They're both right at the very top of the tree.
Yeah.
As you said before, Michelle Yeoh is just hard for the early films to always get.
It's hard to find. Yeah, absolutely.
Like Scott and I did the Police Story movies, and she
Right.
has her own Police Story spin-off, and we couldn't find it anywhere to watch.
Yeah,
we'd have to buy an expensive import DVD. So
yeah, no, I understand.
That's the stumbling block for her, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's just I mean, I saw that Police Story movie, and you're like, what is this? How did you do that? How are you a person? Yeah, so I've been a fan of hers since then, obviously, and she right. I'm sure I've not seen it all either, and I'll tell you, I don't know what Lee's favorite movie on this list is, but I know the movie we own. Interestingly enough, like when we did the Staith, the movie we owned was the Italian Job.
Yeah,
Failure to Launch. She fucking loves Failure to Launch.
Right.
It's one of her all-time favorites, and again, Zoe's in that too, and Justin Bartha. Those are her favorite. Like in that movie, it's not even about McConaughey. It's about Justin Bartha and Zoe. And she thinks they're great. And she's a big Justin Bartha fan in general. But anyway, so it's just funny. I don't know. And Sahara is a big family. As a family, we love Sahara.
Sahara's massively underrated. That should have been a mega franchise. That should have been kind of a Pirates of the Caribbean style.
I think, right. Do you think it came out at the wrong time? Because of it was like people were like, oh, it's not National Treasure.
Yeah, probably.
That's too bad. Because it's good. It's really good. I'm with you. And I don't know. I think that's based on a book. So I wonder if there is a full book series about that.
Yeah, it's the Dirk Pitt, isn't it? Yeah, there is a full series. Yeah.
That was just a lot of fun. And of course, Steve Zahn is always good. So yeah, no, I think you've got I'm really excited. I mean, I've looked at some of these. I openly hated, and again, this is Jennifer's in this, right? Ghost of Girlfriend's Past. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I absolutely openly hate that movie. I didn't finish it. And it's like not even his lowest rated movie. Like I've seen Surfer Dude.
Sure.
So yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
As we're looking at the list, what do you reckon? He's got 52 movies.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do True Detective as well. So I'm going to do 53 episodes. But
okay.
Where do you reckon you're at? Like with the Staith, I reckon I'd seen nearly all of them. Here, I'm much lower down in numbers in terms of what I've seen.
Sure.
I reckon I've seen around half of his movies, about maybe 30, I think I've seen of his.
Let's see. And you're not going to do King of the Hill.
No, I'm just going to do True Detective because it feels so seminal in terms of his career. That was the point, wasn't it? When he'd kind of done True Detective, and there's like Dallas Buyers Club and Wolf of Wall Street and Interstellar. They're all in that period where everyone was like, "Fuck, we really have not been using this guy properly for the last 10 years in rom-coms."
Yeah, I think, and then he just sticks. I mean, of course, Rain of Fire is one of my. I bet you I'd say 25 to 30. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, like some of the ones, I was like, all right, I did see We Are Marshall. Right, I forgot. I did see that. I did definitely see Serpent. I mean, account Ghost of Girlfriend's Past, even though I didn't finish it. Actually, honestly, this is the Linklater one too. Bernie is one of those ones that's just always been on my list, but it was like at the early days of like straight. It never really did a thing. I thought Killer Joe was great. Actually, of course, I've seen The Paperboy. With him and Cusack. That's a tough watch, but I have not seen Magic Mike. I've heard it's brilliant. Yeah, I bet you about 25 or 30. I'm just looking like Sea of Trees, didn't see. And you're gonna do all the animated films too?
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't see Gold.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I didn't see White Boy Rick. I didn't see
I think
Beach Bum.
Yeah. With his safe, there was that kind of early period where I just missed them and never found the time to see them. I've got that with McConaughey as well, but then I've also got these blind spots where like certain films clearly obviously didn't appeal to me when they came out, and then there's that little period there, sort of around 2016 to 2018, 2019, where I've not seen any of those films. So it's going to be really interesting when we get towards the tail end of the career, and why after he's been in these movies I just mentioned, Interstellar and Wolf of Wall Street and Dallas Buyers Club, and suddenly he's having the reconnaissance.
Yeah.
Why I personally went back off the ball with him again. I'm going to be really interested to see what's going on.
Yeah. I did think Between Two Ferns isn't very good. I don't know who you've roped into that, but did you ever see that?
I did, yeah. But that's
the Zach Galifianakis film.
Yeah, like the internet shorts, isn't it?
Yeah, and it needed to be like that. It needed to stay short.
Yeah.
As
most of these kind of sketchy, not many of them make it to, where they've SNL sketch, they've made it to a movie. Not many of them translate that well.
Yeah,
do they?
there's fewer Wayne's World than there are It's Pat, the movie, for example.
Yeah.
Right, correct. Although I did love Superstar. Mary Catherine Gallagher Superstar. That I think is really good.
I've not seen it.
It's Molly Shannon and Will Ferrell, and directed by Bruce McCullough from Kids in the Hall.
Okay.
It's it worked for me. It bombed, but it worked for me. I don't know why they keep making them. So anyway, I'm excited to see. I actively didn't see The Dark Tower, and what a cast! But it was just kind of like, when I saw it was 90 minutes, I was like, is it just Dark Tower in name only? How could this be? How could this be 90 minutes? So I didn't even bother, because it was like one of those ones where I you know how I am. I've gotten better at being a book snob, but at the same time, I'm like, is it bad? Did you see it?
I didn't see it. No.
Oh, well, good luck. I've heard White Boy Rick is amazing too.
Yeah. And they they abandoned all the plans that it was supposed to be 3 movies and 2 interlinking TV shows.
Yeah.
And as soon as all of that was abandoned before the film came out, that was serious alarm bells.
Well, did they must have spent a ton of money on it just to get the 2 of them in it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of handsome.
That's a lot of handsome.
Worst case scenario, you get to watch 2 really amazing actors in a shitty movie.
Yeah, and Scott loves that book series and that. I think
he's going to do it.
He's got an idea that together. Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, Free State of Jones is a good. I'm excited for you. This is fun. Some of them I will watch along with you. Rewatch some I won't. Like I'm just never going to watch Wall Street again. I don't care.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't like it, and I will definitely listen to the episode. I just like the movie made me so mad. I can't even express to you like. My problem is it's like with The Boys. You're wrong. People got the wrong point. Like I see the movie you're trying to make, but I also feel like, unlike with The Boys, where it's really obvious, or Preacher, where it's really obvious, these are bad guys. You're an idiot for getting. I still think that movie like made Jordan seem like too much of a hero, and Kyle Chandler like whatever child. See, I don't even know what Kyle Chandler's name is in the movie. Right? It's like Jordan and Kyle Chandler.
Coach Taylor, you mean?
Right. Okay. Fair enough. He's so great and everything too. But yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. This is so fun. Well, I can't wait to listen along. I'm going to be back for Dragons. There'll be Dragons.
Yeah, you're back for Rain of Fire. Absolutely. Yep.
I can't wait. That is like the one where he rolls up, like that point of his career where he's like, "What if I just shave my head and show up and play myself?" So like sold. That is sold. I can't wait. I hope there's a behind the scenes to hear what Christian Bale thought of Matthew McConaughey. I wonder what that
Yeah,
was like.
that
Because
would be
like,
interesting, actually.
yeah. Okay. So you got. Sorry, we ramble.
No, well,
Where are
that's
we?
why it's fun.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got a question to ask you.
Yeah.
How many times do you think the word man is said in Dazed and Confused?
Oh wow, that's great. I'm
Oh,
gonna
man.
go with. Oh man. I'm gonna say it's a 95-minute movie. No,
It's a
yeah,
140,
100
I always say that wrong. An hour and 40.
hour 40. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
not 140 minutes because that's
yeah. Hour 40. So a 100-minute movie.
Yeah.
God damn. I would say I'm gonna go with an even hundo. One per minute.
You've got to go up a lot more than that.
What?
203 times it's been counted as, which is amazing. Like every 30 seconds.
There's somebody says, man, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
And do you have a favorite like McConaughey Woodison line from the movie? Is there one that just always sticks in your head? Is there one which, as people say now, lives rent free in your head?
No, I mean I really do think, and I know it's trite, but it's that intro. There's nothing quite like it. That all
Yeah.
right. There's nothing. I mean, I know he says a lot of great things and he says some really funny lines, but I honestly think there's just no better entry. Like, if everybody could enter a movie that way,
I mean,
they
yeah.
would
And
die happy.
off screen as well, which is really interesting. You don't even
Yeah.
see him say it.
Right.
You hear his voice, but you don't see him even say these immortal lines, which is absolutely fascinating as
Yeah.
well.
No, I just feel like there's just so many. It's just an overall performance, but I know that's trite and I know that's weak, but to me, that's it. It's just that.
No, it's
And
fair.
because when he wins his Oscar, he says it.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's there forever.
The way he owns it, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah, he knows what he is. And I think that's okay. Like, there are people who definitely run away from their famous roles. Like, Cusack, whom I love, but he's a bit of a curmudgeonly asshole. He doesn't look back on the nerd stuff, the John Hughes stuff and playing Lloyd Dobler. That bugs him. I'm like, but you're good at that. You were good at that. It doesn't mean that's the only thing you were good at. You're good at other things too. Gross Point Blank is spectacular. But so I feel like he doesn't look back on disdain. The work is the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if you said, like, why did you do My Boyfriend's Back? He's like, it was a job.
Yeah, well, it was at that point. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And that's good for him.
And king of the segues. Thank you. So I read Green Lights in preparation for this. I did my research, which is Matthew McConaughey's biography. Very interesting read. I would recommend it. But I think you have to, we spoke about how like this is set at a time when people were different. There's some really quite difficult subject matter at times to do with his parents and how he was raised and how they treated each other. And to him, it was normal. It was normalized for him, but actually it's not normal and it's not okay. But he does cover a lot of the films, not all of them, but a lot of the films he's in, even if it's fleeting, if it's brief. So I thought what might be nice for season 2, as I have this as some source material, is to read a little bit along with a couple of letterboxd reviews to get an understanding of like how he felt at that point in his career. So we've spoken about how he got the role, and then on his first night shooting, that's when the all right line when he drives up and he speaks to Giovanni Ribisi's sister. I can't think what her name is now. Something Ribisi. When he speaks to her name, he's like, "Do you think you'd like redheads?" So when but that was his first acting part, or that's not his first scene in the movie. That's still quite famous that he was asked to perform that, and he came up with. So I'm not going to cover that here. What I thought was interesting is how he came up with the walk and the look of Woodison. So he says he's always looking for a launchpad line. This script was for Dazed and Confused, and the line that sent me into flight was, "That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older and they stay the same age," which is obviously awful. But he goes on to say that Woodison was 22 years old, but still hanging out around the high school. This line opened up an entire world into who he was, an encyclopedia into his psyche and spirit. I thought about my brother, Pat, when he was a senior and I was 11. He says, I was with my mum. We drove up and my mum asked, "Where is he?" Turning my head to look left and right, and then out the back window, I saw him about 100 yards behind us, leaning against a brick wall in the shade of the school smoking section, one knee bent, boots soled against the side of the building, pulling on a Marlboro, cooler than James Dean, and 2 feet taller. There, I started to shriek, and then caught my tongue because I realised he'd get in trouble for smoking. That image of my big brother leaning against that wall, casually smoking that cigarette in his low elbow, loose wristed, lazy fingered way through my romantic 11-year-old little brother's eyes was, sorry, page turn, the epitome of cool. He was literally 10 feet tall. It left an engraved impression in my heart and mind. And 11 years later, Wooderson was born from that impression.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
thought that's really nice.
That's really cool. That's very touching. But no, that's true. I mean, that is what is cool. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like listen, you know, when Dave and I were talking about Appetite, you know, the part of what makes Guns N' Roses so amazing is Slash is so fucking cool. Like,
Yeah.
right? No matter what is happening, no matter what else is happening on stage, no matter who's on drugs or whatever, Slash is 10 feet tall in that fucking hat. He's so fucking cool. Like, he's cool. Like, Patricia Arquette could have written the note, "You're so cool" for Slash. He's that cool. So I totally get it. There's just some people in your life that you're just like, or that you just imagine. Like, I don't know Slash. He seems fucking cool. Like, you'd be like, "Oh my God, Slash." What else could you say if you met Slash? But, "Oh my God, you're so cool." So I totally appreciate that. That's what he thought of his big brother, and that's what, because Wooderson. That's the thing about Wooderson. He thinks he's cool.
He does, and actually, I guess a lot of the high school kids think he's cool too.
Think he's cool
why
too.
he's still hanging out with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. Oh, that's lovely. I appreciate that. So do you have a somebody from that you're going to get to follow all the way through? Is there a McConaughey person that you're going to get to read the whole way through?
Not that I've discovered yet. I guess we'll find out. I have no Lou Shoemaker for McConaughey quite yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
Who I do have is Marion64. She says, all right. Let's do this. Ben Affleck as a pathetic bully. Denim jeans, trademarked. One hell of a soundtrack. And of course, Matthew McConaughey telling us, you just got to keep on living, man. Livin. That's my favorite line if you can't guess.
Yeah, I can guess.
Works perfectly in capturing the Generation X feel with real enough moments mixed with expected cliches found in the teen stoner genre. Just some good vibes, man. Impressed.
It is just some good vibes. Here's the funny thing about this, though. Everybody who's in this film, except for the 14-year-olds, are actually boomers.
I guess that's true. Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
McConaughey is younger than he's playing, right? So like, because it's like 65-ish. So if he's supposed to be 20s in his 20s in 1973, right?
Yeah.
He's a boomer. The actors are all Gen Xers. It's a Gen X movie because it came out in the 90s, but the characters they're playing are actually all
good
boomers.
Point. Yeah. Something I forgot to mention just whilst we're here, we're talking about kind of the characters. I felt watching it this time for the first time, I think this really influenced Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven when they made Scream.
Absolutely.
I'd never put that together before this time, but there's moments, particularly Matthew Lillard. I think he is playing that kind of stoner character. He's basically playing Pickford from this.
Yeah.
But also the way they shoot the school and the way they shoot the Woodsboro area really felt reminiscent to this. I'd never put that together before. You obviously
that's a great call. Yeah, no, because everything's informing it, right? And again, that goes back to even American Graffiti, any of those kind of teenage. It's not a teenage, because what Scream is, it's a horror movie, but it's also just a coming of age teenage film, right? It's both.
Yeah, it's kind of a hang-up movie, but they get slashed whilst they're hanging out.
Correct. So yeah, they were definitely trying to find that middle ground between the nightmare movies and this 100%. Oh, absolutely. I totally see that. Reality Bites.
Yeah.
That whole 100%.
Okay, Jade talks too much. I think you're about to agree with that. And that's her name. I'm sorry, Parker Posey. I really tried to like it this time. Still don't care for this. It's mean-spirited and boring. 100 minutes of plotless, bro-y nostalgia porn for 70s teens to whack off to. Isn't hazing so cool? I just wanted to throttle all the characters, especially McConaughey.
Oh!
1 star for the soundtrack and half a star for Parker Posey. That's it. I don't like it. Sorry.
Well, the problem is it's hazing is bad. That's what Pink's lesson is. We're not supposed to yes, they do it, but it's bad. That's what Anthony Rapp and the nerds, and then and when Adam Goldberg snaps, and then obviously what Pink is. So it's bad because when he has a chance to whack Mitch, he's just like tap.
Yeah, I love the conversation that Tony and what is
Adam Goldberg's Mike? Is he called Mike?
Yeah. They have. I think it's those two. They have a conversation whilst watching the girls doing
hazed. Yeah,
doing the raid siren, and they're like, "Why do we do this? Why does the whole town support this?" And you've got like the teacher at junior high going like, "No, I'm going to hold you back so you get a worse beating."
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
other than
Richard
Mitch's
Roundtree Light,
friends,
that teacher who's not quite Richard Roundtree. Yeah.
other than Cole's mum who pulls the shotgun on
I love that.
Bannon,
Ben Affleck. Yeah.
Everyone else seems to be well in support of everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's true. So I hear what she's saying, but I don't think it's again, you're getting the wrong point from it.
Yeah, it's meant to much like sorry, I know we're getting towards time, I know, but Linklater talks in that behind the scenes that I've sent you about like they really want him to cut the scene when all the baseball players like high five each other. And he's like, but no, because that's a real nostalgic moment. When everyone watches this, they'll go like, "Yeah, we did used to do that," and like, kind of why? And but they wanted him to move the plot on, and I think you're right. Like he knows it's there for a reason, and he wants people to be seeing it. He wants us to see the hazing. I think like that's horrible. Why would you do that? Why are you agreeing to it? And if there's two villains in the movie, it's O'Bannon and it's Parker Posey, right? It's Ben Affleck and Parker Posey.
Worst. Yeah, absolutely. And she knows what she's playing. It's like
I've
not seen her go that over the top until House of Yes, where she plays the person who thinks she's Jacqueline Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
It's something. That's I've not seen her go that far over the top. And then of course, obviously Blade.
Yeah.
She's eating scenery and that. But yeah, no, I think she's totally the villain. Like she's like, I get to be. She's having so much fun doing it. So half a star for Parker. I understand what you're saying. She's great.
She is. But we'll end on a high. Muriel says, "Why isn't it me driving around smoking a joint with Matthew McConaughey on our way to buy Aerosmith tickets with our loser friends?" Which I agree is like my review for it this time watching was just, I want to live in this movie. If I could have a Last Action Hero golden ticket, this is the movie I'd use it for. It's such fun hanging out with these people. You know who else thinks that too, don't you?
You and me.
And me. Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, is this one of his favorite films?
One of his 10 favorite films of all time, he says.
Well, it's I can get that because he loves walkie and talkie.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you can see how it's informed his writing and directing completely.
100%. Yeah, and again, because just people sitting around talking. There's a way to make it interesting. I mean, that opening scene of Reservoir Dogs is iconic for a reason. It's the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
For a reason. I mean, there's a lot. It's just like the talking. The talking is it's the natural, and you got to have the right actors to do it. They can't seem like they're acting. They just got to seem like they're friends. So even the fact that those two guys didn't like each other is pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So surprise me, surprise the listeners.
It's classic.
It has to be, doesn't it?
I mean, there's not. If anybody's like, this is just worth catching, or this is for completers only, you are. You've got a few of those coming up, but I mean, both. I can look at your list. I'm like, that's a skip. That's a worth catching. That's a skip. That's a skip. Oh, that's a classic. It's going to be a while till you get to another classic. To start off with a classic, and it's not just his performance, but he's amazing in it, and it's a top 10 Linklater film. You know, I mean, because the trilogy is my favorite trilogy of all time. Obviously, Boyhood is a masterpiece, a cinematic masterpiece. So. This is right up there, though. This is so good. It's the fact that this is so early in his career, too. All of them are so young people. I think that's part of why I didn't love Everybody Wants Some, because it just. I don't think he should have revisited the universe.
Sure. Yeah. He was never going to recapture what he managed to capture here. It was just never going to happen, was it?
Right. The only reason the before movies work is because they write the script.
Yeah,
it's the three of them sitting down, so that's why it works.
And maybe that's why this worked, because a lot of it was improvisation. It was basically every McConaughey line he improvised.
That's amazing.
Parker and Joey were improvising all the time together. They were writing scenes together, and he was putting them in the movie. And
and it works.
Yeah,
and that
because they know how teenagers talk, because they're close to that age, because they only just moved past that stage of their life. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, this was spectacular. Thank you, friend.
Well, thank you for helping me start off in the way that I knew we would. Passion, enthusiasm, excitement, love, joy. We have projected that just as the film projects it for us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for letting me be part of this. I can't wait to come back and fight dragons and act out Star Wars with you. I love that. I mean, that's one of the best scenes in Reign of Fire is the Star Wars play. So I'm excited for that. But of course, I'm going to be listening along because it's the greatest. I love this show. I love the format. I love what you do. It's such a passion project for you. And again, like you said, in just a few lines, like he said, encapsulating Wooderson, this show, it's what you love. It's like art, it's storytelling, it's completism, it's good, bad, and everything in between. It's why we'll never do sliders on season's greetings because I like you too much.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't stop at season 3 no matter how much I begged you.
You're right. I wouldn't.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man.
Bro, thank you.
For sure.
And thank you, everyone, for listening and partaking in this journey with me through the reconnaissance. That was Dazed and Confused. Next up in a fortnight, I'm joined by the VHS Strike Back boys, Chris and Dave, to discuss Eminem's sophomore acting effort as, previously mentioned, guy number 2 in Bob Balaban's My Boyfriend's Back, for those that are watching along. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
All right.
Cut.